Hi, and welcome everybody to the gamblersworld.net sponsored broadcast of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel and the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin, your host. I am joined like every Tuesday, and it is Tuesday, February 13th, by my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Jesse Schule and Mr. Sean Higgs, all three of us of our sponsor site, gamblersworld.net, where if you don't win, you don't make a profit. We will credit your account back the exact amount of which you spent on your purchase. Anyway, guys, I didn't get a chance to talk to you over the weekend or yesterday in terms of what we saw in the Super Bowl on Sunday. So, Sean, how are you?
All right. And I got to say, like the Super Bowl, I'd San Fran. I don't know. As much for a game that was close and an overtime game, I got to say, not very exciting. Right? I mean, I don't know. Wasn't maybe dramatic. It just seemed like it was 10-3 at the half. You're like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what to say with it. It was for a game that came down to 3 seconds left in overtime as a win. It just did not have that feel for it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean,
well,
whatever.
Let me ask you a question. You had San Fran, right? And look, the game could have went either way, obviously. But your feeling about taking the ball first when you won the coin flip in overtime?
That to me, the game was lost on the punt, the fluky punt off the guy. Right, that's a crazy miscue. It wasn't like the guy was fair catch and dropped it.
It's hit another player. Controversy. Okay, so yeah, I get all that. That wasn't the question.
The next play, the missed field goal, the missed extra point. That's the game. The taking it. Listen, if you're going to take it, score a touchdown. How you just took the lead with a minute and 50 seconds to go, and the guy marched down the field like nothing and scored against you. Why are you're either deferring it or saying we're taking 7 here, and you know what? Take 7 and make them go for 2 in the second half. At least you know you can't let them even score. How do you take a field goal when the guy went down the field to a minute and 50? That's fine. You want to score? Go for 7. No one would have complained if it's 4th and 4 and you're on the 7-yard line and you go for it. Then they got to go 90. They got to go 60 yards for a field goal. I'll take my chances at 60 yards going for it. Go for 7.
Well, Jesse, they said that the reason behind Shanahan's decision. You done? The reason behind Shanahan's decision it was that he's analytically they were looking at the third possession, which again, the bottom there. If both teams score and it's a tie game, worst case scenario, both teams score touchdowns and the game moves on. The third possession is now key because it's now a sudden death. You know, you don't get a matching second possession. My feeling is this. You're going against one of the best quarterbacks, pressure quarterbacks in history. I mean, maybe only behind Tom Brady in terms of big game performances. And like Sean just alluded to, he marched them right down the field in the last drive. And yes, you can make a case that San Francisco's defense was gassed because of that last drive, and that came into play in the decision. But Shanahan indicated that wasn't the determining factor. It was if both teams scored a touchdown in their first possessions, then they would be at an advantage on the third possession. Now, this is a team that came out, Jesse, and went 3 and out in the first 3 drives of the second half, meaning San Francisco. Got a little over 300 yards of total offense in regulation time. For whatever reason, abandoned the run for the most part in the second half after they seemed to be running it effectively in the first half. And that goes back to Sean criticizing Shanahan's play calling in big games. And it sounds like a prophet, or you, Jesse. I'm sorry.
That was me that was all over Shanahan. Sean bet his hard-earned money on Shanahan in those 40 minutes.
Yeah, so but I was all for him choking. I said that. I think the guy's been a choke artist. And I said, I also said he won't change his ways. He was so set in his ways, he would just run the ball to death.
And he did.
Yeah, well, and back to the going for or taking the ball in overtime. I think it's not a good look for Shanahan. there was players on the 49ers that said they weren't even aware of the rules, whereas players on the Chiefs said they had discussed it since training camp, had been practicing it all year. So gives you a clear picture of one team that was very prepared and one team that wasn't. And the MO for Shanahan, you could make excuses for him. You can say, well, he loses in Super Bowls. Now, all those losses came to Mahomes and Brady. So, there's not a lot of guys that have great records against Mahomes and Brady. But if he just runs the ball a little more, he wins 2 of those 3 Super Bowls. My game script that I gave out on the Friday show that Ross had such an issue with, it turned out to be fairly accurate. The best move for the 49ers was to run the ball. The best move for the Chiefs, or the Chiefs sort of got forced into having to pass the ball, which I speculated that they might get forced into that. And it was all going according to schedule, but Shanahan blew it with the couple 3-and-outs in the second half. And, there's really no – when you look at the box score at the end of the game and you see the passing attempts for Purdy and the rushing attempts for McCaffrey, that was never going to be a recipe for success, and it cost them the game.
I didn't have an issue. I didn't have an issue with your I didn't have an issue with your script, Jesse. I just had a different script. We just had a different idea of how the game was going to transpire.
And Pacheco did get plenty of carries, but he went
San
over
Francisco
the total. San Francisco was stuffing him more often than not.
It didn't help when Mahomes hit him in the shoulder pad with a pitch, and he lost 12 yards. So that would have put otherwise he would have went over the total. But he did go over his carries. He had 19. He did not go over the total of 66.5 rushing yards. He had, I think, 57. And he didn't have the long run of 15.5 yards. The other ones that I had, though, were pretty good. I had San Francisco under 24.5 points for the game. I had San Francisco under 3.5, in the first quarter. Third game in a row in the postseason, they didn't score in the first quarter. And I had them under 11.5 in the first half as well. So panned out pretty good there. I also had Cincinnati plus the 2. I had Cincinnati on the money line, and I had the under 47.5, which I'm glad I got down early. And that game looked like
it was not Cincinnati.
Kansas City. I'm sorry. I had Kansas City point spread, Kansas City money line, game under. So it was a good day for me, but I not so much. I didn't agree with what you were saying, Jesse. It was just I had a different script in my head, but it worked out for both of us either way. So, and the bottom line is, here's what and I'm going to leave it at that. We'll move on to our college basketball. If you guys want to retort to this.
Well, I got one thing to say about Sean said the game wasn't very exciting. The game kicks off at 6 a.m. where I'm at. And I had a couple bottles of wine the night before, was up till about 3 or 4, couple hours sleep, got up to watch the first half. The first half was so bad, I went to sleep at halftime and caught the replay after the game was already over.
It was a choppy game in a lot of ways. A lot of field goals, settling for field goals, which I really thought would happen in regards to my underplay. And the other thing that I would say, guys, is if I had the choice. Now, I get we beat this to death about analytics, right? About sometimes you get way too caught up with analytics. And the analytics show that it favors you on the third possession if you take the ball first. And I get that. But don't we factor in who the quarterback is you're going up against? I mean, you're going up against one of the all-time best. Like Jesse or Sean said, he marched him right down the field in the last drive of the game, or last drive of the fourth quarter to get him even. Now, here's the thing. I mean, Kansas City gets the ball first. Let's be hypothetical and say they do exactly what they did in overtime, score a touchdown. Now,
at least
Cincinnati gets the ball next. And what do they do? On the first drive, they settle for a field goal after driving down to the 4-yard line. Now, if you deferred and you got that same drive now you can make a decision to go for a touchdown from the 4-yard line. It's not an insurmountable task. So I don't know. I mean, the analytics, again, I like the analytics, but to a degree. And let's just leave it. Any final thoughts before we move on to our college basketball guys?
How frequently do we see a third possession in overtime? If that's what you're going to the bank on, that we're going to have the advantage on the third possession, I don't see a lot of third possessions even happening in overtime. So it seems like it's going to be on such a rare occasion that that's not a valid excuse.
If he would have just came out and said, you know what, we took the ball, I wanted to score because I'd give our defense a breather. They just came down and scored with a minute and 50 to tie it. People would have been like, okay, whatever, that's fine.
But he deferred to analytics. Yeah.
He could have said, I felt our defense was tired and I wanted them off the field that spot, and I felt we could score, get back to basics, how we move the ball on them. Okay, people would have accepted that. I think I would have accepted that. And even
it would have made a hell of a lot more sense. First. It would have made a hell of a lot more sense. Yeah.
Go for 7. What do you do?
I don't know about going for 7. I mean, you're almost, if you don't go for 3 there, you get crucified. You're in a no-win situation. My point is you're right, Sean. He made himself look stupid by referring to analytics instead of my defense was gassed from the last drive. Here's the thing. Your defense comes out gassed in the first drive of overtime, okay? They still gave up a touchdown anyway, even with rest. Okay,
that's
at
what
least
I'm saying,
you
Ross.
know what you need to do.
He should go. He should go for 7 and be like, "We're trying to." They're not going to settle for 3 if they're on a 2. They're going to try to win the game. So I'm trying to win the game.
They were on the 4. They were on the 4, not the 2.
You score a touchdown. They have to score a touchdown. So they have to go all the way. If they're in field goal range and we could force something here. They can't. Even if you miss an extra point, it's still 6 points. You know what I'm saying? They need 8 points to beat you.
I don't agree with that.
You're on the 4-yard line. They're on the 4.
But
I'm taking my shot.
Once you made that decision to defer, I don't think you had a choice on the 4. You got to kick the field goal because you can't. You got to at least trust your defense. If you're not not deferring and giving Kansas City the ball first because your defense is tired, okay, then you have to kick the field goal there and trust your defense, who's now rested, to at least hold them to a field goal. Okay, but once he deferred and got the ball first, Jesse, I don't know. I mean, I would think that he'd be more under higher scrutiny if he went for a touchdown and didn't make it on 4th and 4 or 4th and goal from the 4-yard line.
I think the fact that he blew another double-digit lead and found himself in overtime in the first place, there was no chance that he was ever going to avoid scrutiny.
Well, if you won the game, a lot of that's forgiven. If you won the game, a lot of it's
a fluke punt fumble and a blocked PAT. Come on, man. Okay. The guy who can't miss a field goal or can't make one was hitting 55-yarders for San Fran.
And then he misses an extra point, which was blocked. But
that changes everything.
Yeah.
The field goal's not blocked. It's 17-13, and are the Philly is Kansas City saying, you know what? We take a field goal, we're down 17-16 with 5 minutes to go. We can make a stop and win this with a field goal, right? It changes everything. And then it's I need the first down from CMC, and we have this game. It changes the entire
Sean, and again, this goes back to where you when you're doing rushing yards. Well, they gave up a 30-yard play. The numbers are skewed. Those kind of things are going to happen through the course of a game. It's the bottom line. I mean, Kansas City, Pacheco fumbled inside the 10-yard line. Yeah, I mean, you could revert back to that too. I mean, if you're going to start saying, well, if this didn't happen and that didn't happen, I get it, but it happened. Now, how do you adjust?
Mahomes interception, CMC fumble, Pacheco fumble. Those are off. Not really things you're expecting to happen. A punt that's hit off of a blocker. That's an extreme rarity. Rarer than Mahomes throwing in. Although the guy has thrown 7 interceptions in the Super Bowl, I think Mahomes has, or something like that. 5 interceptions Super Bowl play. He gets thrown 5 in the Super Bowls.
Yeah, but he went 7 games in the postseason without throwing an interception.
I know.
Until the
Exactly.
one he threw.
That's why it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
That's why McCaffrey fumble was an anomaly. A blocked PAT is kind of a rare spot, though, Ross. I'm not looking for a blocked extra point.
No, I get it, man. But it's again, my point being is it happened. Okay.
Oh,
now, how do you adjust to that? What's your decision processes after that? It happened. I don't think I don't argue with what you're saying, Sean. But at the end of the day, now, how are we still going to win the game after this fluke play happened? And some of the decisions, like abandoning the running game and then deferring on the coin toss, these are the kinds of things you can control, okay, by your decision making. That's my point.
Let's end it here. They had a lead with 1:50 to go. They did what they had to do. They took a lead, 19-16. All the defense had to do was make one stop. They couldn't. There was, again, the guy got hurt first quarter. Greenlaw, whatever, went out. Big, obviously a loss.
That was a fluke too. He was just coming on the field from.
You had a lead.
Sideline.
The defense, whether the lead is 3-0, 43-40, or 19-19, whatever it was, you could not make the stop when you needed it.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our college basketball, which we have 3 games tonight, and they're 3 good ones. Marquette and Butler, which Jesse will cover. Oklahoma and Baylor. That will be Sean's game, and I'll be looking at Iowa State at Cincinnati. So a couple Big 12 games, a Big East game. Let's get right to the meat and potatoes. And let's start with Sean first. Big 12 matchup, Oklahoma and Baylor. Baylor right now is 6.5-point favorite. The total is 142. Sean, what say you?
Yeah, this is a straight Baylor look for me. Oklahoma, you look at some of these, well, let's just say Baylor at home is 12-1 at home or something like that. The one loss, a triple overtime loss. They lose crazy 105-102 game they lost. Otherwise, they take care of business at home. They could shoot to 3. Pretty good offensive rebounding. This looks like a double-digit win to me. I look at Oklahoma on the road. A 20-point win at K-State, sure. They scored 73 points in that game. At a win at Cincy, 69 points. Losses, 63 at UCF, 66 Kansas, a 71 in a loss. They're not really putting up a bunch of points. I know Baylor's not some kind of offensive machine dropping 80 spots, but this comes down to, again, teams at home take care of business. That's just the way it's been across the leagues. I'm going to lay 6.5. I think Baylor is I don't want to say a Final Four team. I like Baylor's team. I know Kansas gets all the love here in the Big 12, but 6.5. I got to think a better rebounding team, a team that just dominates at home. Look at, again, comparable scores and teams like that. It just looks like there'll be a double-digit win for Baylor for me.
Yep, and so Sean likes Baylor minus 6.5 against Oklahoma. Again, you look at Oklahoma; they have won 3 of their last 4. They have won 2 of their last 3 on the road. But Jesse, what say you?
Yeah, I think we talked about Oklahoma a week or 2 ago, and we sort of all agreed that they piled up a bunch of wins with a questionable schedule, and this looked like might be an overrated team, but you got to give credit where credit's due. They keep on piling up wins, and they are a competitive team, but this is a tough spot for them. They've lost.
At home, they win.
They've like Ross said, they won 2 of their last 3 road games. They are just 3-10.
Competition. Yeah,
not a great and that's why I'm going to go with Baylor, because Oklahoma is 3-10 in their last 13 road games. They've lost 7 straight at Baylor. Baylor has won 9 of the last 10 head-to-head meetings outright. I don't think the 6.5 is a bargain by any stretch, but I think Baylor should cover it and get there. They're just the better team. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. So you're looking at the 2 road wins came at Kansas State and at Cincinnati. Now, when I say not the best of competition, they're in the lower half right now of the Big 12 standings. So that's what I was alluding to. But
I was getting there, but you guys were getting a little bit antsy. I was talking up Oklahoma before I was going to knock them down, and you guys wanted to knock them down before I got there.
Talk about Oklahoma.
All right. Sorry about that, Jesse. I will keep that in mind going forward. Sometimes you're the victim of two guys that like to talk, I guess.
That's it. We talked 50 minutes on a Super Bowl. We gotta knock this down short.
Exactly. Well, you have to knock it down short. Yeah, this is coming from a guy who does an hour and a half podcast with no guest. Anyway, got to knock it down short. All right, let's get to Jesse's game, Marquette and Butler. Marquette, a 4-point road favorite total, 153.5. Boy, this Marquette team they look more and more like a national title contender when I watch them of late. Jesse, Butler's they're tough, usually tough at home, but they've lost a few at home this year, I believe. What's your take here?
Yeah, Ross, this is a spot where I normally like to take home dogs against a ranked opponent, but this is a bit of the exception. There's two teams in the Big East that I probably don't mind betting as a road favorite, and that's UConn and Marquette. Marquette's won 7 straight. They last lost at home against this Butler team, which sets up a revenge spot. The 4 points looks fair to me. History does favor Marquette in this series. And like you said, they've been a top 10, top 5, top 10 team all year long. And Butler sort of two teams trending in the opposite direction. Butler looks like they're slowing down, and Marquette's gearing up for a run to the Final Four possibly. So I will take Marquette in this revenge spot.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I mean, right now, Marquette, you look at their last 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 7-0 straight up and 6-1 against the spread in their last 7. And several of those wins, several of those wins, I should say, came by double-digit margins. Butler, I said they lost a few times at home. They're actually 11-2 at home. And their losses came against Seton Hall and number 1 UConn. Traditionally, they're strong on their home court, but I don't know, Sean. This looks like a matchup. Marquette is shot during that stretch that I just alluded to, 7-game win streak. They have shot 50% or better in all 7 games, and it's for that reason. And I look at Butler's defensive play. It's on and off, a little bit erratic when you look at their defensive numbers. I just think this is a bad matchup for Butler. What do you think, Sean?
I like Butler. Yeah, I mean, they lost to UConn at home. They come out next game on the road, beat Marquette. Then they had back-to-back losses to Hall and Javier, the ex. But again, Marquette, as Jesse said, man, these guys, even last year with Shaka, all of a sudden they have like 29 wins. You're like, who is this team like 29-3 out of the blue? I don't like going against them. I think they're a good team. But I faded them against St. John's the other day. Loser. I'm set. I hate saying I'm set in my ways. I'm going to take points with a home team, and I have a team in Butler off a win. Head to head, they don't really lose terribly to this team overall. I mean, when you're losing by 8 and you're getting 4, it looks bad, but it's not. You're not getting blown out. I think you have a shot here. Butler maybe thinks they're a bubble team. They're right there. You beat this team twice, and let's be honest, we've seen teams go down twice to a team. I know revenge is a big spot, but you're still favored on the road. You're still the hunted team here. The Marquette team is a good Big East team, arguably with them. UConn. I'm taking a home puppy here, right? And this was 3, went up to 4. So it started a little lower. People are still banging on the Golden Eagles. Is it because of the revenge spot? Possibly. I don't know. I'm going to dogs, the Bulldogs of Butler.
I'm going to have a slight lean on the over here. Marquette, like I alluded to, on a 7-game win streak in which they've shot 50% or better in 7 straight. Also, Butler's averaging over 84 points per game on their home floor, shooting 47.5%. So, and Butler also, we think of Butler in past years, they've been a plotting type of methodical type of offense going back to the days of Brad Stevens, but this is anything but. I mean, this is a Butler team that averages 63 field goal attempts per game. Marquette 61. So the pace of this game should be fine. And also, you're looking at a Butler team that hits 79% of their free throws and playing against an aggressive style of defense like Marquette likes to do. There's a good chance they'll get to the free throw line at least 15 to 16 times on minimum. So I like this game to go over that total of 153.5. But our official pick is from Jesse, and he's going with Marquette minus the 4 against Butler. And again, Sean liked Baylor minus 6.5 at home against Oklahoma.
UConn on deck. Big game at Stores up next for Marquette.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. So, but again, going back to, I just can't believe that they're going to look past this game after they lost to
exactly.
That's under home floor. That's the, that's sort of a wash to me. But it's a good point, Sean. All right, let's take a look at the game between Cincinnati and Ohio State. Cincinnati will be the host in this game. The Bearcats opened as a 1-point underdog, but now they're a 1.5-point home favorite. The total is 137. To me, this is just a bad matchup for Cincinnati. I know that home teams in conference play have been outstanding in the Big 12 this year. However, this is a whole different set of circumstances. You got an Iowa State team. When I say bad matchup, you got an Iowa State team's number 3 nationally defensive efficiency. Cincinnati, number 10 in the Big 12 in offensive efficiency. Dead last in the Big 12 play in 3-point offense, making only 29.1% of their 3-point shots. Iowa State's number 1 in the Big 12 and number 25 nationally in forcing turnovers at 24% and 25% of opposition's offensive possessions. Cincinnati is number 12 in the Big 12 out of 14 teams in committing turnovers. And they commit turnovers on 19% of their offensive possessions. So there's a couple items there analytically that to me doesn't bode well for Cincinnati. Iowa State also, they're off a 71-59 home win versus TCU on Saturday. They shot 24 for 48, exactly 50% in that game. And Iowa State this year, after a game in which they shot 50% or better, they're 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread, and they outscored their opposition by 28.5 points per game. Now, again, home court in conference play. We've talked about this time and time again, but Cincinnati, they're just 2-3 straight up in conference home games. And Iowa State has won their last 2 on the road against some pretty good competition at Texas and at TCU. I also mentioned that Iowa State, number 3 nationally in defensive efficiency. And this is a Cincinnati team, guys, that have shot less than 40% in 5 of their last 8 games. I'm going to take Iowa State here. I think they should have been the favorite the way the odds makers had them initially. Not sure why this line moved to 1.5, but I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm going to take the 1.5 here with Iowa State over Cincinnati. Sean?
Well, it takes an ugly person to love an ugly underdog, a team that plays ugly. So, of course, I'm on Cincinnati with my ugliness. And let's just start out here with, I hate to beat the drum of what I always say about road in college basketball. A 4-point win on neutral versus VCU, a 9-point loss on a neutral versus Virginia Tech, a 4-point loss on a neutral versus A&M. You beat DePaul. That doesn't even count. Lost at Oklahoma by 8, lost at BYU by 5, lost Baylor by 2. You beat Texas by 5. I see losses and I see a 73-72 close win at TCU. So this is not a blowout. I'm going to look at a team at home, now a small fave in a spot versus a team that loses games on the road to lose on the road. Let's go Cincinnati Bearcats. Do it for Nick Van Exel, the old school Cincinnati, Kenyon Martin days. Let's go.
They lose on the road, but they won their last 2 on the road, by the way. Texas.
No, they didn't. They lost to Baylor 70-68 before the Texas game.
All right.
They beat TCU 73-72.
All right.
So
I stand corrected. Yep, I stand corrected. All right. Jesse, Sean likes the ugly underdog.
Yes.
I don't consider he said he usually likes the ugly underdog, but he went with the pretty favorite.
Well, they started as a dog.
Yeah, he's again. Jesse, what's your thoughts on this game?
This might come as a shocker, Ross, but I think Sean is dead wrong about the Big East game. About the Big East game.
Oh, about the Big East game.
I like Cincinnati as well. They've won 17 of their last 20 home games. Cincy's a tough place to play. I think Cincinnati is competitive at home more consistently than Iowa State is good on the road. I think if they have a good game, Iowa State can beat anybody. But whether they bring that on a night in, night out basis on the road, I'm not so sure about that. So I'll lean with Cincinnati. But I still think Sean's dead wrong about that Marquette game.
Iowa ranked 10.
Yeah, I got confused with this Baylor game because for whatever reason, Fox Sheets has an asterisk next to it, which indicates a neutral site game. And I don't know why they do this with Baylor because they're playing in that arena in Waco. And I don't know why they consider that because it's off campus and neutral site game. So I beg my pardon there, guys. I was incorrect there. It was a misread on my part, but that's what it was notated at the site I look at. But that Baylor loss was only by 2. That's a nationally ranked Baylor team, and Cincinnati's not. And TCU and Texas are very good teams as well. So we'll see. Again, I feel strongly in this regard. I like Iowa State here, plus the 1.5 at Cincinnati. And again, Sean, Baylor minus 6.5 over Oklahoma, and Jesse, Marquette minus 4 on the road at Butler. All right. Sean, tell the folks a little bit about what you may have coming up this week and why they should invest their hard-earned money with you.
College hoops, baby. Had a 2-in-1 day yesterday. And again, going back to January, 55%, 131 to 109. We keep just chugging along. We're going to do it again today and for the rest of the week. I know we have the NBA All-Star break coming up, so that's good with the NBA. And we had some trades, and teams are going to kind of get into that flow of rhythm with their new players. So I'll see if I find any spots in that and in hockey, but it's going to be college hoops. Balls to the wall. Let's go. We're two weeks away. About 18 days away from conference tournament starting, I think March 2nd, I believe, or maybe the 4th. Got to do a refresh of those. But, man, can't believe it's March already. Crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And football season's over. Some people are going through some withdrawal because of it. But you know what? Our focus turns to basketball, and watch out because now it's our sole focus for the most part. And Jesse's been red hot. Jesse Schule has gone 52 and 32 over the last 30 days at the site, making a profit. Diners, or I should say, $100 per unit players up over $3,900 during that time. Also, over the last 60 days, Jesse's 111 and 75. Jesse's now number 2 at the site since its inception in terms of money earned. So things are going well, Jesse. Tell the folks a little more about what you want them to know and what you might have
coming off of a losing day yesterday, Ross. I had a NBA play that didn't pan out, but I'll survive and live to play another day. Us handicappers are often criticized on social media for being creative with the stats and touting hot streaks that have only, losing 5 straight and then bragging about winning 3 of your last 4 and such. I don't often get criticized, but some guys do like that. So I will offer a 10-year-long hot streak, a hot streak that goes back a decade. Since February the 12th of 2014, college basketball, money line plays, 296 winners, 153 losers. That's 66% for a profit of 72 dimes. For dime players, 10 years. 10 years, 66%. Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. I would say that that's pretty damn good. So
10 years.
Yeah,
I mean, what kind of sample size is that? You're for 45, Jesse. Come on. People find fault in that.
They're going to say, well, what? How much were you losing 15 years ago?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
They'll always poke hole. But what about your point spread picks? It's anyway. College basketball free picks on this channel, by the way, folks. Hit my last 4. I had last night I went against Kansas in 79-50. Kansas got blown out. So that gives me 4 college basketball free picks in a row. And today, like I said, I got Iowa State plus the 1.5. That came against Texas Tech last night, by the way. Also, college basketball totals just continue to roll, folks. I mean, I know a lot of people laud some other guys I've heard in the industry and with their basketball totals, and that's fine because some of it's well earned. But my college basketball totals, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who's doing as well in that specific category in recent times. I've won my last 6 college basketball totals, 65-33 with my last 98 college basketball totals picks. That's good for 66%. My college basketball top plays, my top plays at the site are 4 units or more, and 116-86 with my last 202, good for 57%. I'll take it. NBA top plays, 39-21 with my last 60. That's good for 65%. And the last 3 days, let's see, a 4-2. A 1-1, 5-3, and a 3-0. So 8-3 over the last 3 days, something like that. So I was starting to pick up steam again after 5 straight winning months. I had a bad January, but turning things around here this past week. All right. So again, Jesse Schule, Ross Benjamin, Sean Higgs. You can find us all over at gamblersworld.net. Again, folks, we guarantee our picks. If you don't win, you don't make a profit, then we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. Jesse and Sean will be back with me tomorrow. We'll be discussing more college basketball. Friday, our live show. These 2 gentlemen will be with me as always. Mark that down, folks. 1 o'clock live on Friday. We will answer all your questions and comments within reason and time permitting. And I'll be back Thursday also with Doug Upstone discussing more college basketball. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. There's a black subscribe button right underneath. Or if you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo. They serve the same purpose. Just click on either or, and that will get you subscribed. It's absolutely free. And you're watching this channel, you see all the great handicappers we have on the site. You see the information we give you daily. I don't know why you wouldn't participate. There's no hidden agenda. There's no strings attached. Jesse, there's a like button underneath as well.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast 5 to 6 times a week right here on this great channel. And also our main goal has always been, is still, and will continue to be, to make you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. We'll be back tomorrow with Jesse and Sean. Until then, folks, take care and God bless.